We tend to look at the lot from a perspective of how best can this lot serve the current owner or the business that the lot is attached to, and the surrounding businesses that it's attached to.
Recipe that we used, but then we dry hopped it with mosaic hops and it got a really big peachy nose and a little bit of a juicy feel in your mouth. We've had a few hurdles to get over trying to learn this old brewing equipment that we've pieced together in Ironclad Brewery. We've got parts from California. We bought some fermentation tanks from California. We've got some stuff that was being stored at my place in Rocky Point. We've bought some new stuff, that sort of thing. Trying to get it all pieced together, ready to use has been a few hurdles, but we've gotten over it, and now I guess we're in our learning curve of learning how all of it works and trying to get it as efficient as we possibly can. Our flagship beer is obviously the Fishtail Pale Ale, and that's one that we just liked the name Fishtail, and it's T-A-L-E, not T-A-I-L. The logo has the lower half of a mermaid on it. I have the White Squall, which is a white chocolate brown ale. We use Ghirardelli white chocolate in the brewing process. I like using the play on words a lot of times on our names and logos and things like that. We're doing a series of beers called Secession Ales. They're all session beers, which mean they're 4% or less in alcohol, easy to drink, that sort of thing, but every time we brew it, it'll be a different style beer. Right now we have a little ESB recipe that we used, but then we dry hopped it with mosaic hops and it got a really big peachy nose and a little bit of a juicy feel in your mouth from that. Our next beer I plan on doing in that series is a strawberry wheat. It'll be an ale also. We're going to use the local strawberries from Lewis Farms, most likely. There's a company in Burgall called Solo Foods that purees all of these berries. They'll puree them for us, which makes it really easy to introduce them into the beer. Got Lydia's Lager. Lydia's our assistant brewer, and she runs our lab. She's our biologist.
Ethan kind of oversees me and Nash right now. We do a lot of the day-to-day work. He is the one that is coming up with the recipes and making sure that we're where we're supposed to be, doing what we're supposed to be at the right time, and making sure everything runs the way it does. But we're the ones that, he says how many bags of pale malt that we need. We'll go get 10 bags, and me and Nash will be pouring the bags of malt in the morning into the kettle, mash tun, and then we'll be doing a lot of the hose hookups and everything. So Ethan just kind of dives in when he wants and helps out with everything, and then oversees the two of us actually doing a lot of the work. And we do keg washing. We have the keg washing station, and making sure that we get all the kegs that we need in there and cleaned and ready to start kegging beer eventually once things are ready out of the fermentation tanks. So it's all about timing and temperature and cleanliness are the three main things. You want everything to be clean, like I said, so you don't infect anything. You want everything to be timed right, so you're not trying to put a small amount of yeast that has just gotten started eating, essentially, into a 10-barrel tank and expect it to be able to do anything. So you want to time it correctly. And at the same time, you can't have it at a freezing cold temperature or a boiling hot temperature, because that will kill it. They're animals like anything else.
North Carolina Surf to Sound Challenge features two races, one for the elite and one for the intermediate. Talking about the elite race for just a minute, these are the real pros, the people who have been working at SUP for a long time, the people who travel around and compete. We have people here at Riceville Beach from 3 countries and 10 states. Only about half the people participating in the Surf to Sound Challenge are from New Hanover County. So we have a lot of people coming in from outside the area. And this group that you're about to see in the Elite Surf to Sound Challenge race, these are the best. These are the cream of the crop SUP people across the United States.
I'm from Wrightsville Beach. I live right across over in that neighborhood. So this is my stomping grounds. And it'll be a lot of fun. We'll paddle across here and it'll be a little challenge, but once we get around, the wind will be blocked by the island, and it should be a lot of fun.
I moved down to Wrightsville Beach several years ago, and I really enjoy working with nonprofit organizations and helping them get the word out on worthwhile events all over the state of North Carolina, not just here at Wrightsville, but in Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill we promote events. In eastern North Carolina and western North Carolina we promote events. A lot of nonprofit organizations cannot afford to maintain professional expertise on staff year-round. And I will go in and help people promote events such as the North Carolina Surf to Sound Challenge so that they can attain better results. I'm working with the Wrightsville Beach Paddle Club for Mason Borough and the Blockade Runner to help get the information out before, during, and after the event.
Hieronymus Seafood and Oyster Bar, voted best seafood restaurant in Wilmington by Encore magazine readers. Here is where you can count on the freshest local seafood daily, served with fresh herbs selected from their own garden. Enjoy daily chalkboard drink specials in the cocktail lounge. Choose to eat in the Oyster Bar for freshly steamed oysters or crab legs. Or you can dine family style in the comfortable and spacious dining room. Seasonal catch from local waters is always on the menu at Hieronymus Seafood, where fresh is best.
She was once considered the world's greatest sea weapon and went on to become one of the most highly decorated American battleships of World War II. Now moored in downtown Wilmington, she's one of the most highly decorated family attractions in North Carolina, serving a new generation as an exciting, hands-on historical adventure. Have a blast exploring the past aboard the Battleship North Carolina. Adventure calls.
Ironclad Brewery joins the growing list of Wilmington-based craft breweries in a renovated historic building on 2nd Street, where the interior has been restored using original wood from the building. And the craft beers, they're all local and regional to Wilmington and North Carolina. Now pouring Fishtail Pale Ale. Add a favorite for dark beer lovers, White Squall, Ironclad's White Chocolate Brown Ale. Downstairs or up in the high-gravity lounge area, come and enjoy craft beer at its best. Ironclad Brewery, 2nd Street in historic downtown Wilmington.
Do you like historic neighborhoods, architecture, and local history? Then you don't want to miss Historic Wilmington Foundation's guided architectural walking tours. The Forest Hills Tour showcases the city's first automobile neighborhood, and the Streetcar Suburbs Tour highlights Wilmington's first suburbs, Carolina Place and Carolina Heights. And this summer, on select Saturdays, a new downtown tour. Tours have a strong architectural focus and are led by knowledgeable guides. Check our website for details.
Well, I was born and raised in Wilmington. I didn't know any Civil War veterans, but all of the old people that I knew when I grew up, including my grandparents, had been born in the 1800s. So I heard a lot of the old local history stories directly from the families. My mother in the 1960s had a TV show at WWAY-TV3, and she interviewed celebrities and people of local interest. And one of her favorite people to interview was Dr. Stanley South, who is the father of historical archaeology in our country. My mother would drag me along when she traveled with her film crew down to Brunswick Town to interview Dr. South. In the mid-60s, I'm 12, 13 years old, and I was just so enthralled with the excavations that Dr. South and his crew were doing on the old colonial town. And in fact, on a couple of occasions when I was down there, he actually gave me a trowel and put me into a pit and had me digging to see what I could find. So That's how I got my love of archaeology. I did my master's thesis called To Forge a Thunderbolt when I was at East Carolina University. I expanded that for my PhD dissertation at the University of South Carolina for what became my first major book, The Wilmington Campaign, Last Rays of Departing Hope. And what I discovered in researching and writing on local Civil War history is that really it was untouched by professional historians. My book, Rod Gragg's book called Confederate Goliath, have looked at military operations in the Wilmington area late in the war. But I think a really good book needs to be done on what the city was like, the transformation that the city underwent as a result of the war. Here was a relatively quiet sort of backwater port compared to Norfolk, Virginia, and Charleston, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia, and certainly New Orleans. And then the war completely transformed it. What had been a city of about 10,000 people in 1860, my guess would be that the population probably doubled in size during the war, not unlike what happened during World War II. And Wilmington became a very bawdy place, became at times a very violent place. This crime was rampant because, of course, along with the troops and the blockade runners and the huge exchange of gold and money as a result of this very profitable trade, came crooks and thieves and prostitutes to exploit those who had the money. So Wilmington, to a large extent, was just kind of taken over by strangers. And I think there's a great story to be told there. There's a lot of renewed interest in the Civil War because of the sesquicentennial, and every state has activities, surrounding the sesquicentennial, and North Carolina is no exception. By 2015, there'll be a lot of focus on the war in southeastern North Carolina, because that's late 1864, early 1865 is when all the military operations happen here. So yeah, there's renewed interest in the Civil War as a result of the Civil War sesquicentennial, and those of us who do Civil War history in the state, are in demand right now. And that suits me just fine, because I'm getting to the age now where this will be my last hurrah probably, and just ride off into the sunset when I retire probably.
Fort Fisher is the largest earthwork fortification in the Confederacy, and it protected the most important port in the Confederacy, Wilmington, North Carolina. And off the fort here, from July 1862 to the end of the war, you had one of the most important blockading squadrons, or at least elements of the blockading squadron out here. They patrolled the waters and tried to keep blockade runners from coming into the inlets here at Wilmington. The blockade runners had a tremendous advantage in speed and stealth, and they actually had to keep two blockading squadrons because you have frying pan shoals that intersects both inlets, and it made the blockade much more difficult. That's why Wilmington was so successful as a blockade running port, because you actually had to have two squadrons off of Wilmington, whereas all the other major ports in the Confederacy, you only had to have one. Geographically, Wilmington was important because it lay up the river. The naval vessels couldn't directly assault Wilmington. It had deep water access, and it just made it very difficult for the Union vessels. When the Union vessels attacked this fort in December 1864, at that time it was the largest concentration of naval vessels in the history of the service. The bombardment was the largest bombardment in the history of the United States Navy. Of course, they were unsuccessful the first time. They actually landed troops, but they had to withdraw them. The second time they came back, and they had a little bit better plan the second time. They actually concentrated on the guns on this actual face of the fort here, knocked them out, which allowed the troops to eventually assault the works and to take the fort. Underwater archaeologists are continually rewriting history when they excavate vessels and discover them and do work on them. And I think there's a lot more interest locally in looking at the Civil War soldier. And so a lot of letters are turning up, and that gives a little bit more information on the life in the fort and what the men felt and how they saw the war.
Your passport awaits to 3 of Wilmington's most historic homes. Now, for one low admission price, you can visit historic Bellamy Mansion, the city's grandest antebellum home, the Burgwin Wright House Museum and Gardens, beautifully restored for a step back in history, and Latimer House, representing opulent life in Wilmington before the Civil War. Purchase your passports at any one of the historic home locations and discover 3 great reasons to visit Wilmington's past. Tickets are good for 1 week from the date of purchase.
Around here, we work hard for you. We get started before the sun comes up and work well into the night. We use only the freshest ingredients for our food and our craft beers. At Front Street Brewery, we're passionate about our work and what we serve. For nearly 20 years, we've been proud to call Wilmington home. So from our family to yours, thanks for coming in. Front Street Brewery, serving you since 1995.
Alpha Mortgage. We're the only full-service mortgage banking firm in southeastern North Carolina. From origination through processing, underwriting, funding, closing, we do it all locally. More than 90 professional staff right here in Wilmington. Alpha Mortgage is the leading mortgage lender in southeastern North Carolina. Alpha Mortgage is the lender more real estate agents and builders rely on. We work with your realtor and your builder every step of the way from application to closing. We have the best rates, best service because we are Alpha. Alpha Mortgage.
One of the things that we are most proud of is the Gary Shell Cross City Trail. We're finishing up the very last phase of the Gary Shell Trail, which is 15 miles long. It goes from Wade Park all the way down to the Riceville Beach Drawbridge. This has been implemented within about a 6-year time frame. A lot of things had to come together, private property owners, money that came in from the state, money that came in from our transportation bond, that came together to make this happen, and we're very proud of it. And you can drive all over town where the trail is in place and you can see people using it all the time now. With the passage of the transportation bond, $30-some million is going to be put into sidewalks and into multi-use paths. That came from the citizens directly. That's what they said that they would support in the transportation bond. We have plans in place. There will be a trail along Greenville Loop Road from Pine Grove Road all the way up into the Seagate area that will connect with the River to Sea bike trail. There will also be another trail along Masonboro Loop Road. We are starting to implement these trail systems all over our community, and as the community grows and as people continue to move here, we want people to use alternative modes of transportation to get to and from places if possible. And the trail has demonstrated that. We see people using it a lot, especially a lot of the college students that use it near around the university that maybe live in apartments that are within 1 mile or 2 miles or 3 miles of the campus that are using their bike to get to and from school. And we also begin to see some people that are using it to get to and from work, especially if their work is close to where they live. We're very proud of the trail, and we're very proud that we were able to do it in such short order, and it's something that the citizens now continue to tell us that they are very proud of, very happy to see, and are demanding that we try to get it into their neighborhoods now, which is a good testament as to what we've been able to do with the trail.
We mainly service private parking lot owners in the downtown Wilmington area, and the majority of our lots are not pay parking lots. Probably 75 to 80% of our lots are private enforcement lots. In other words, they are for the use of the business or the property owner only, and we want to discourage people from using that as available parking and encourage them to use city parking or the private pay lots that we may represent. And in those lots that we represent, it really doesn't compete with the street parking. The street parking is usually a shorter term parking. It's people who are going to shoot in for a lunch, a quick lunch, or to buy something at a shop that they frequent. Whereas our parking lots are all day parking. It's one flat rate, $7 for the entire day, and it's for people who mean to leave their car there and maybe come back to it after lunch, grab a few things, do some sightseeing, that kind of thing. So for the most part, we kind of reach a different clientele. We do a lot of tourism, parties, special event parking, that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, we just started Parks Lake Valet mainly toward that party planner clientele that seems to be growing in leaps and bounds. We've got, I think, a couple of dozen weddings on the books for this coming summer. People who are going to have to accommodate large groups for a specific period of time. So we do accommodate that. And most of our lots are cross-utilization lots. We tend to look at the lot from a perspective of how best can this lot serve the current owner or the business that the lot is attached to, and the surrounding businesses that it's attached to. So we look at really optimization of parking as opposed to just making sure that we're filling every space every day. We're really trying to optimize it for the given area. And because we have a lot of cross-utilization lots that may accommodate a restaurant, or they might accommodate a printing company. And then in the evenings, when that business isn't in need of the space, it can accommodate people who are coming out to dinner or people who are here for tourism or for a wedding. Wilmington has some pretty strict guidelines about how valets can work. There's not really a lot of space in the city streets. There's not a lot of space that a regular valet company can really operate in the downtown Wilmington area. So valet for the businesses that are there, the restaurants and the venues that are there, has really just not been very successful. What we realized is that many of our lot owners, and we approached several of them before we even began, weren't really comfortable with instituting pay parking in their lots during their off hours. But they did not mind us using their parking lots to sort of stage drop-off points and everything, which took that traffic, that valet traffic, off of the street and accommodated the city. So we actually have access to some of the properties that allow us to do that. And we started looking at that, and we started getting a lot of phone calls. We already do, a lot of lot rentals for special events and weddings and that kind of thing. And many of them really wanted that service. Well, what about valet services? And so we started looking at, well, how can we incorporate that and make it work here? And really, the shuttle service is really, at this point, the more popular of the two. We have several valet plans, everything from, just your average, drop your car with the valet, he gives you your keys, you text him when you want your car to come back around, he pulls it back, all the way to premium, where your car gets detailed. But shuttling is really one of the ones that's more popular in downtown Wilmington, simply because we have parking lots that are available, but they're far enough away from that downtown riverfront, that beautiful riverfront where most of the venues tend to be, that they're really not being used. But with a shuttle service, we're able to bring them to the venue.
Discover more to do and see in Wilmington. See the attractions, events, businesses, and people that make this a great place to live. Keep your eyes on us as we keep our eye on Wilmington. On CBS 10 WILM. Watch Eye on Wilmington Sundays at 8:30 or anytime on the WILM TV website.
This is Liz Coughlin with Four Seasons Travel, and I have another travel tip regarding TSA PreCheck. If you travel by airlines more than once a year and you wish to avoid long lines and removing coats, shoes, and other items for inspection, then you should consider signing up for the TSA PreCheck program. Applications are available online at tsa.gov, and we're fortunate. We have a TSA PreCheck processing center right here in Wilmington at 2632 Carolina Beach Road, near the corner of Shipyard Boulevard. Going through the TSA PreCheck line saves time and aggravation, especially at larger airports. The TSA now has a downloadable mobile app for smartphones and tablets that contains a comprehensive listing of items that cannot be transported through a security checkpoint. Save the hassle and sign up for the TSA PreCheck. It will appear on your boarding pass and speed you on your way. The most talked about travel experience is a river cruise. This is Liz from Four Seasons Travel, where we book luxury river ships that carry 150 passengers who unpack only once and spend less time getting there and more time being there. Private balcony views of stunning locations across Europe, Russia, China, and Southeast Asia. We work with top name operators. There is no better way to see the world than on a river cruise from Four Seasons Travel, with you all the way.
Is your VCR finally giving up the ghost? Are your videotapes falling apart? Can't find the right equipment to watch those precious family memories? Bring your home movies into Carolina Video Edit Centers for professional, high-quality transfer to DVD. Why risk taking it to a mega store that'll just ship it off to who knows where? Carolina Video Edit Centers has been in business over a decade. All orders are handled with care and processed right here in our studios. Bring in your home movies and receive a second DVD copy absolutely free. Preserve those family memories forever at Carolina Video Edit Centers.